Today we're going over No Man's Sky by Hello Games. This is a story about an indie game studio that released a very ambitious game, let everyone down, and this is a story about an introverted CEO. But it's about that and what happened after, and I think it's a really great story. So let's get into it.
Initial first release ever?
No,
the year is 2000
second property.
AD.
We'll get into it.
Sean has just graduated from university and is headed into the big wide world. He rises up the ranks at a number of studios, eventually working as a technical lead for Black and technical director for Burnout 3.
Great game.
When Burnout's developer is bought by EA, he is in his late 20s. And he and three of his buddies decide to leave and start their own studio.
Just like us.
Hello Games.
I mean, kind of. Startup.
This was a risky venture.
So we've done this incredibly foolish thing of like quitting our jobs, and then we had to sit down and try and decide what the game was going to be.
Together they create their first title, Joe Danger. They work on this game day and night. In fact, even once they were arrested in their own office because the police thought they were there to rob the place. Because who would be working at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night?
Yeah, who's working this
But
late?
they had to work that hard. Like any startup, it was a huge financial and professional risk. They had no income. They were working in a tiny room above an old tile shop, living off savings. And to keep the project running, Sean even sold his house.
So we made a really tough and probably at the time seemed really foolish decision. It's kind of almost
like a
embarrassing
gambling
for me
issue.
to talk about. I sold my house and just basically went all in and funded what we were doing, which is not something I would recommend anyone else do.
But by June 8th, 2010, they had done it. The game was good. And they could breathe a sigh of relief because on the very first day it hit the PlayStation Store, they made their money back. 2 years later, Joe Danger 2 was released. It was not the commercial success they had hoped for, and they didn't want to just keep pumping out sequels. That was a trap big players in the industry had fallen into. In his spare time, Sean started working on a prototype for a procedurally generated game. They took another gamble and scrambled to get a trailer out in time to present at VGX 2013.
I think the game generates the world, kind of like how Minecraft generates a seed. So like this would generate, like if you wanted to go to another planet, it would generate the planet and then you could visit. And it'll be
procedurally generative. So it's not all mapped out first.
Right.
No, okay. Procedurally
So the project is official now, and the pressure is on. Around this time, Sean is also looking to start a family.
Why does he look
Concurrent to
like
all
him?
this development,
his
he would
family.
go on to have 3 kids. So the weight of responsibility is really piling on.
people are getting hyped.
It's 2014, and it's E3 hype time. No Man's Sky has promised to be a game like no other. A practically boundless experience vibrant with life and color and things to explore. What's over there?
Oh, this is like their
You'll have to be the one to
is the
discover.
trailer.
debut.
And then, wow, look at that big f***ing dinosaur, holy shit. And a moment later, we're in space, having a battle amongst a giant fleet. Claim a planet as your own. Explore the galaxy with your friends. Okay, that's it. This is going to be the best game ever, you guys. It even won awards for its hype. And it will release in June 2016. The hype train was officially loading up and ready to chug out of the station. At every stop of the journey, there would be press junkets talking about the amazing scale of the game, spread across 18 quintillion planets. It's so vast that by the time you finish exploring it all, I would have 2 new videos watched. Sean himself was doing the interviews, because who is better to talk about the game than the lead guy himself?
The technical
He went from
director.
interview to interview, and with each question, the answers he gave raised people's expectations of the game's scope.
Can you land on a comet?
Yeah, at the moment you can land on asteroids.
You could encounter other players.
Can you grief other players?
anyone played it? At that point?
I mean, no.
They're literally building your own like massively multiplayer world that's procedurally generated.
Sand
talking
planets
He's
like
just
in Dune,
answering
rivers,
those questions.
walking sentinels, hacking, so sophisticated that light diffracts through the atoms, they had to redevelop the whole periodic table to make it work.
What?
Even Elon Musk was hyped for it. 2 years go by.
Hasn't even gotten.
It's early
no one's played it yet.
2016, and that hype train is really moving now. Perhaps one of the biggest in video game history. Reddit was shoveling most of the gamer fuel. Skeptics and naysayers are treated as ballast and thrown from the carriage doors. Pre-orders open, and they are doing very well. The date is booked in. Some are even taking the day off work. So much hype there is that... Uh-oh. Jason Schreier of the soon-to-be defunct Kotaku is about to spoil the party. He announces a delay. From June 2016 to August.
It's just 2 months.
Oh my god.
Not even that
Liar,
long.
Yeah.
the incensed audience cries.
But they go crazy.
Please be quiet,
That's what I was
they
saying.
said.
Gaming is
And
so
death threats, too.
fast-paced.
Death threats,
But he was
for a
100%
delay.
right. A week later, the delay is officially announced. Ooh, sorry lads, we need more polish, said Sean in his usual accent. To that, Sean received some death threats too, by the way, although he didn't take them as seriously or go to the police. Yet. So let's talk about the team in charge of all that polishing. It's small. Tiny. In fact, I haven't been able to find a small team behind a AAA release. All of these expectations are on the shoulders of just 6 people, expanding to a team of 15 by the end of production.
Oh god.
July. It's just a couple of weeks until the release date. Whatever the
To
state of the
make
game by
all
now,
those things?
however much it's finished, that's what's going out.
Pressure's on.
The Hello Games team celebrates with this iconic image.
The quintessential soy face.
They're exhausted. Look at what video game production does to a man.
God,
being
what's
president.
wrong with your face?
The 1,000-man stare. Or the,
Oh no. It's August. Everyone's here. We've all bought the game and we're fucking hyped. Here we go, lads. Oh dear lord, it isn't finished. Buried buildings, aggressive emojis, tractor beam malfunctions, animal husbandry, oil slick world, raining grass, retarded animals doing retarded things. Ship's interiors disappear, first person mode as a gun. That's not how flying works. That's my only means of transportation, leaving the planet. Take off. Really take off. Holes in the map. Holes in my graphics card. Whole lot of nothing from
We'll call
down
them
here.
portals.
Textures bugging out. Animals bugging out. Animals breakdancing. Look
Oh
at
my
these
gosh.
busy
Busy
hands. Hello there. And a couple of
like real
unrequested
life.
ejector seats. What? Okay, that's a lot of stuff. I get the picture. No wait, poor graphics rendering. Some can't even start the game. Frame rate issues, constant crashes. Major publications are having trouble
That's
playing
too
the game
much.
on their machines. Even the best 1080 Ti's are stuttering. Alt tab,
Yeah, it's like
that's a guaranteed crash.
Fallout 76.
Notifications,
It
that's a
impossible to
crash.
stay on
Playing
the
the game,
game.
that's a crash.
Playing the
Changing
game.
options in the game without restarting, you'll get this. And if you got the pre-order version with the bonus spaceship,
Seizure
you might have a
inducing.
problem.
Don't do that.
Your special ship already comes with a hyperdrive inside it. Great, right? No, because you have to craft it in order to finish the tutorial missions. And if you haven't finished the tutorial missions, you can't leave the star system. So whoops, until they patch it, you're stranded. Just a quick note about how high
Maybe it was like a
expectations
horror
were for this game, and just how many people bought it on release. Myself included. Over 750,000 purchases on Steam at launch. Wow! It's the single best-selling game on the PlayStation Store that month. And the large proportion of people who bought it in the hopes of playing with their friends, well, you're in for a surprise. This one is a literal game changer.
Is it even possible to meet up with your friends in No Man's Sky? The answer is absolutely yes, it's possible.
On multiple occasions, Sean said it was definitely in the game.
Will you be able to play with your friends?
Yeah. Can you run into other people, other players on the game? Yes.
So you're
But
just
then
all
just
by
before the
yourself
release,
no matter what.
Sean posted this cryptic tweet. To be super clear, No Man's Sky is not a multiplayer game. Please don't go in looking for that experience. Oh, what? So there's no multiplayer function. But then the next line contradicts that. Because the chances of 2 players ever crossing paths in a universe this big is pretty much zero. Oh, so it is multiplayer.
He's just saying he's
you just
being
have to
realistic.
overcome this fighting
No?
each other.
Maybe,
That's
yeah.
not saying that it's multiplayer.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Right? No, it's more confusing than that, because the box
What?
doesn't mention online play, just network features. And the collector's edition had its online play icon stickered over. So customers are going, which one is it, Sean? Just tell us if it has multiplayer or it doesn't have multiplayer. Sean wouldn't give any answers. But after hundreds of thousands of purchases, people soon took it upon themselves to find out. Despite the claims that it would be so improbable,
Chances that are incredibly rare, just because of the size and probability.
on the very first day, two people noticed they were only 4 star systems from one another, and they met up on the same planet in a live stream. Oh dear.
A black pillow.
Our streams are exactly lined up. If you go look at my stream, we're looking at the exact same area right now. If you don't.
You guys are there at different times,
Yep, that's the same spot.
Yeah, you
I'm
have
just
to meet
kidding,
up at
and
the
they
same
can't see each other.
time. Did you check the other dimensions, dude?
That settles it. It's not multiplayer because it's so big. It's not multiplayer because it's just not fucking multiplayer.
Because
And
it's
this led
missing
to
a
quite
dimension.
Everyone's in their
What
own
did
dimension.
Sean have to say about all
Yes.
this? So amazing, 2 people found each other on the first day. That has blown my mind.
So why can't we see other players in game?
Wow, so many of you playing.
Yeah, Sean, but why?
Truly amazing. My mind is blown.
So what's the game actually like then?
Is it any good? That is a difficult thing to say.
Well, it certainly is
Difficult thing
stylish
to
and
say
pretty.
that it's a good
And there are a
game,
lot of
so
places to
no,
explore.
it's not a good game.
But that doesn't mean there's much to find. In fact, the game boils down to a very simple loop. Hold down the trigger to pick up resources, deal with a full inventory, get an upgrade, leave the planet, go to another planet. Hold down the trigger, deal with a full inventory, get an upgrade, leave the planet, go to another planet. Hold down the trigger, deal with a full inventory, leave the planet, go to another planet, deal with a full inventory, get an upgrade, leave the planet.
Sounds like you just emulated life onto a real game.
$60,
and people are pissed
ladies and
'cause
gentlemen.
They wanted to escape.
Refuel your multi-tool, refuel your life support, refuel a separate part of your multi-tool that shoots bullets instead of the mining beam, refuel your launch thrusters. It's busy work that makes it look like you have something to do. It's not real.
How dare you?
What followed was one of the most dramatic crashes in player numbers in gaming history. Sales in the UK fell by 81% in the second week. Concurrent players on Steam dropped from 212,000 in August to just over 2,000 by September, and fewer than 1,000 by October. And what followed that was perhaps the biggest pylon in gaming history. Reviewers on YouTube panned the game.
Oh, for fuck's sake! You done fucked it up!
I had no hype, and I can tell you that, even without that disappointment, this game is hot garbage.
Has anyone coined Sean Mourinho yet?
Numerous times within the first 2 hours of the game, I kept saying, this is it, fuck this shit.
Reviewers in the media were almost as harsh.
Devastating realization that most of the crafting, combat, and other activities you do on and between those planets ranges between bemusing and outright bad.
The criticism was deafening. And a lot of it really funny and creative.
okay,
Kroby
just
Cat made a
press the
video that
surgery.
captured
Change
the
your face,
sentiment
change your
of that
name.
day, and if you haven't seen it yet, you're missing out.
Who wouldn't?
So people
at
are
this point?
furious. The game is boring, and soon people discover that complaining about the game is actually more fun than playing it.
Wait, I'm now 3.5 hours into the tutorial pretty
Free PR.
So they
just
started
improve
complaining
it.
about it like they
Update
were
it.
grinding for an achievement.
This sucks! Fucking Minecraft in space!
Many people made compilations of all the unfulfilled
That sounds fun,
promises. One
If
guy
it
on
really
the
was
subreddit
like
compiled
that.
a big list of all the missing features.
If he
Front page.
delivered.
Got a defense for No Man's Sky? Enjoy your downvote. In fact, the entire No Man's Sky subreddit was in such disarray it had to be locked. Please, no
shut
more.
down lots of-
But the beatings had only just begun. The demo planet was data mined and found to be, of course, totally scripted and not randomly generated at all.
I just got to pick one of these at random. If anything horrible goes wrong, just keep in mind that I've not been here before.
It wasn't some level that we built or something like that, even though I think it looks quite nice in places.
People watching this would wonder why you're showing this area again. Like, what's so special about demoing the game on this planet?
Oh, no, it's just a place that looks nice.
No, bad Murray.
I could have ended the demo with some, pre-scripted crazy thing
that would happen. You know what I mean? The normal thing of like, and then a monster emerges from behind the mountains, you know?
People see what's going on with the game and feel lied to. This is false advertising, they say, and angry customers start scoping out a lawsuit. On September 28th, the ASA busts through the door and goes, "Yep, too many complaints. We're going to investigate." But then soon after, the ASA cleared them of any legal wrongdoing. Technically, the only thing they're interested in is what's on the back of the box, what's on the store page, and what's on the Steam page. So it's technically not false advertising. But of course, technically not illegal doesn't mean much to an angry audience. October 28th, Hello Games Twitter is hacked. The hacker posts, "No Man's Sky was a mistake," and is shitting on the game in the replies. Turns out Sean didn't use two-factor authentication on his LinkedIn, and that's how they got in. They also sent discrediting emails to journalists, which they knew would rile people up if published. Some people even show up to their offices to take photos and knock on the door, even at night and on the weekend. They posted empty pictures of the office, so, naturally out of context, this started rumors that Hello Games simply took the money and ran. This in addition to numerous bomb and death threats during that period. Those ones Sean did have to take seriously.
Regular intervention from police and Scotland Yard and things like that.
And while Sony didn't quite throw them under the bus, it was more like a gentle push under a minivan when Sony president Shohei Yoshida admitted that Hello Games did not have a great PR strategy for No Man's Sky. The press took the ball with that one and ran.
Oh my goodness.
But despite all of this, all of the negative press, they were actually nominated for a couple of awards. But by this point, Murray and the other members of Hello Games were so downtrodden and so sure they weren't going to win that they opted to go elsewhere for dinner.
And the Innovation Award goes to No Man's Sky.
Oh.
Oh, bro. This lovely trophy going once.
Whoops.
Oh. I'm going to accept this on the behalf of Hello Games, and congratulations to them. And now I'm going to walk off stage like I planned that whole thing.
By this point, you've got to feel just a little bit sorry for them. And then what followed that was the final straw for many. No particular incident, but a lack of incidents. Silence. Over 3 months of not a damn word from No Man's Sky. Where are they? Where is my refund? Where is Murray? Shouted into the void. The game was over. And it was dead.
They got their picture.
So that's what I know up to. That's my understanding of No Man's Sky until I watch this video.
Who made this video?
Internet historian. I love this video. It's so funny.
They woke up to find their homes flooded, their cars submerged, and their plans for Christmas Day very much ruined.
Bad
But in
news.
the UK?
Rain.
Scotland?
Rain and flooding in the south of England.
Or south of England?
Right around the Hello Games office. They are completely inundated and they return from their holidays to find laptops floating around at waist height. But some good news. They hadn't lost any data. So they pull together. Soldier on. Development continues. So they get back to work and ding dong. It's Sony with some good news for once. We like your game, kid. We want to feature it front and center and make you a big star. This could mean millions of dollars in additional revenue. They said, yeah. But along with it, a lot of press for this game would need to be done. Being a small team, they didn't have anyone for PR. They had their designers, they had their developers, and that was about it. So it's up to Murray.
Him out of... Oh, not again.
He's the only one that could do it.
Not super young, but relatively young, and inexperienced for this type of media circuit. This deal with Sony put extra pressure on them. It set deadlines. It's not that it's Sony's fault, but they're locked in now with much less flexibility. So when May rolls around, and they have no option but to delay,
oh my god!
Even if they wanted to ask for an extra 6 to 12 months of development, which they really need, it's probably too much to ask for. So they extend from late June to August.
Okay.
Only 6
Wait,
weeks.
This is the same
From
story,
here,
different side.
You can predict what's going to happen to multiplayer and a bunch of other promised features. So here's how the hype happened. Scope of game. Time. And here's the line which shows the reality of development. Progress is steady and ends in August 2016. Now here is the line of player expectations. It should start out here and follow along the purple, but the overhyping trailer comes out and puts us way up here.
This is special.
In this trailer, it features a bunch of things that Hello Games thinks they're capable of having in the game by 2016. That's the first big mistake. Then it's announced for PlayStation and it costs $60 and there's a collector's edition. Second, even bigger mistake. That puts us all the way up here. And I think this is the main problem, because price tags set expectations. For a $60 game, this was seriously barren and disappointing. Now, if they had put it out for $20 as an indie game or an alpha, no problem. But when they gave it the AAA treatment, people rightfully aligned their expectations with other games in that category. That is the main reason customers' expectations were so skewed. Then Murray went to interviews, exacerbating the problem. Every time he mentioned a feature in the game, even in passing, fans set their expectations to AAA heights for that feature. Now, some people think the interviews are the main problem. In my humble opinion, not so much. Most people never saw these interviews. It's not that rickety 12-foot ladder Sean's standing on that's the main problem. It's the 900-foot building he's perched it on in the first place. So the obvious solution here would be an official statement. Hey guys, don't expect a 10 out of 10. Expect more of a 5 out of 10. No, the publisher just sank an enormous investment of marketing and opportunity into the game.
What's wrong with you?
And that would be a huge middle finger to them. The publisher isn't going to make you hype the shit out of your game, but you can't talk it down either. So, he's kind of stuck up there. In some ways, during the interview, he tries to temper expectations, but it's limited.
Can you build a space station?
No.
But let's not gloss over the interviews. Sean is a technical guy. He's a developer. He's also the introverted type. And the big lights and the stuff on camera does not come naturally to him.
Is it super nerve-wracking to talk on stage at E3?
Yes. Yes, definitely. I personally find going on stage at E3 like the hardest thing I've ever done. That's something that I would have had in a nightmare before. You know what I mean? It's
literally the hardest
I
thing
would
you've
have
ever
pooped my
done.
pants normally.
Yeah.
Still, he stepped up and took interviews for his game from 2013 to 2016. And the main thing people wanted to hear about were the features.
Can you have more than...
So every planet, will there be wormholes?
Right.
At what point?
Do you get points or anything?
From these interviews, people took Sean to be a liar, a Peter Molyneux or a chess club member out to sell his game at whatever reputational cost. But I think the truth is more complicated than that. Sean and the team are indie developers working on a new IP. Their project and plans are constantly in flux. They have no idea how large chunks of the game are going to look, especially not a couple of years out from release. And crucially, Sean doesn't understand that something mentioned in 2013, even said in passing, is going to be seen as a promise in the year 2016, even if by then you've decided to cut it from the game. For example, orbiting around the sun.
Day has turned it out because the planet has actually rotated on its axis.
This originally was in the game, but it caused the player too much confusion. It kept being reported as a bug in the beta, as people left the planet and then returned to find everything different. But nonetheless, into the line compilation it goes. So while they're still essentially formulating the game, the media all want a piece of Sean and to report on features first. Conversely, Sean thinks the reporters might help him to temper down things by emphasizing that Hello Games is an indie studio. But that is not how journalism is done. This is how journalism is done.
Can you customize the look of your character?
Sort of.
Full customization confirmed in No Man's Sky.
You know what this is really? It's like a cautionary tale in managing expectations. And yeah, if you don't manage them correctly, even if your game is good, if people's expectations of it is higher than that, they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we even disappoint ourselves. It's like
No, but as like if
own
you're
expectations, but
if you're pushed into like the PR position in like a small company, like it's something that no one ever trains you for, because like how could you, unless you go to school for it, how could you know or understand what those things, what you say like 3 years before will matter by the time it launches, or even matter more because people are expecting it. And it's
they refuse to give him a script probably because they're like, but you're the one that knows what. It's like, what?
Well, no one can give him a script. No one else knows, and that's the unfortunate thing. It's like
to have known those things, how to buffer those questions, or like avoid bias. Not. You know what I mean? He felt the need to answer that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a cautionary tale for people who might be working on a product that gets pushed into the spotlight that might not have a release date for like years. And it's like,
and just
you
so
really
much
really gotta manage expectations.
Periodic table to create atmospheric particles that would diffract light at just the right wavelength.
Told you. The press kind of operates downstream from the community because things are click driven as to what stories you get served and things like that. But a rumor would surface from Reddit straight to the front page.
There's all this hype, and the project has increased in scope dramatically and keeps increasing as the months go by until a point. They are close to the deadline and have to delay, and the reality of what they can achieve in the little time remaining is staring them in the face.
Why didn't
they know they're not going to be
developers?
putting out a finished game. They're worried. There's nothing more they can do. And the fear that they will disappoint the audience is growing on Sean and the team.
I worry about like disappointing people.
Oof. Upon release, all of these clips are seen as proof that Sean is a liar. And what doesn't help is his body language. I mean, it's kind of the body language of someone who is lying. And this is why I mentioned he's an introvert.
Is he shy?
Remember, he's a technical lead.
Not confident.
Actually, a really good one. But
just an
not
introvert,
a salesman. Cut him just a little bit of slack, because this is simply how he talks. Here are some innocuous questions, and he answers them honestly.
Lead producers on No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I guess I'm a developer on it. I suppose the
don't use suppose.
Creator or something like that.
No, I really like making games. I don't necessarily love talking about making games.
I think you did a good job,
even though you guys are very nice.
Mate, seriously.
Same body language. And Jesus Christ, they have him up on stage and in front of cameras and bright lights and on the goddamn Colbert Report. Try keeping
public
a note
speaking.
On that.
It's hard.
Nonetheless,
not to look like a deer
free of that
stuck in
context,
the-
the clips have him cemented in the community as a liar.
Ugh.
We're horrible at knowing
So
who's
the
lying,
graph
who's
plays
not.
out right to
Just
release.
FYI.
And
Every
that graph,
human's horrible
it's
at it.
actually a track. And that track is what the hype train runs on. So it comes barreling up the hill. Instead of neatly pulling into the station, it comes crashing right through the roof. The disaster unfolds. They are absolutely shit on. So there were Sean and Hello Games, surrounded by the rubble of their former reputation. Punished Sean was at his lowest point, hated by the majority of the gaming community. But they were still alive, and they had made tens of millions of dollars. They were left with two choices. Take the money, start a new project, and be a pariah, a cautionary tale of the industry and hated by the gaming community forever. Or pick themselves up, get back to work, and with
Sorry, just
potentially
quick
no
question.
profit motive.
Was the option to hire more developers to do those things not ever there? Like, why did the...
Maybe they just didn't have it in the budget.
But they made 10... Okay.
Finish the game.
It allowed me to do something that I've always done in
to
difficult
finish.
times, whether it was crappy bosses that I've dealt with before or crappy situations at school growing up. I got my head down, I sat in front of a computer, and I made games, which is what I enjoy.
They picked number 2.
Nice.
So, here's the plan.
Oh, they
the
start to
team is
finish the
assigned to
project.
fixing bugs and the most obvious problems. Go. Sean tells the team to stop reading all the overwhelmingly negative feedback on the game and he reroutes all of it to his personal devices. Emails, forum posts, Google News alerts, player feedback, it's all going directly to him now. Then he starts breaking that down into data sets. People who haven't bought the game, people who have bought it and played it for 100 hours, people who have returned it, etc. Then he starts compiling those complaints into usable data, focusing on the people with the most sincere experience of the game. Then we start making a big laundry list of all the things that need adding and prioritizing. First thing to fix is that full inventory. Then community mod support. Then a third thing, etc., etc. This is going to take an enormous amount of work to pull off, and they're not going to make the same mistake twice. So they would need to sharply adjust their PR strategy. Anything they said right now, an admission of guilt,
I've made a severe,
would be met with criticism. Denial,
Yeah, it'll be just
not that bad, would be met with criticism. Corporate speak,
Play dead.
well, we endeavored to make the best game we could and we are proud of what we have, would be met with criticism. Half of the problems have been caused by speaking too much. So they were going to do a complete 180. Instead of adding more fuel to the fire, instead of accidentally promising fixes that might also not be delivered, they wouldn't speak to the press again.
Female traits you're talking about, I'd say that's a generalization, but you
They were going to speak to the community directly from now on. So they told the audience they were working on it and went completely silent. 1 day passed. No word. 2 days. A week. Have you heard from Hello Games? They just had this disastrous release. Nope, haven't seen them. I hope they're working on the game. 2 weeks. Dude, are you working on this thing? Just ignore them, just work. 3 weeks. Okay, what the fuck is going on?
WTF, it's locked.
A month. They took the fucking money and ran, didn't they? Don't say anything, it's not going to help. 2 months.
This is how
3
to
months.
shatter expectations.
By now, most
Lower
people were
them so
convinced that the
down.
game was abandoned.
Yeah.
They had made their money. It's all over. Then, after over 100 days of absolute silence, a tweet. Foundation. The first big patch. It is me, Sean. No, go away, Sean. I am mad at you. It has been too long. But I bring you gifts. His accent sucks. It brought base building, new game modes,
Look,
farming,
either use the
camps, and freighters, as well as a lot of bug fixes. You will have to try harder than that, Sean, to win my love back. It still fell well shy of the promised game. Too little, too late. So Sean left, returned to his team, and got back to work. A few more months went by, and then another tweet. Pathfinder.
What do we have here?
What the fuck? Oh, it's you, Sean. I bring you online base sharing, own multiple starships, starship specialization, multi-tool specialization and classes, permadeath modes, vehicles you can drive around in, and create racetracks for them too with time trial.
Yeah, that looks fun.
Look at this.
Hey, you can shoot your spaceship.
Pretty good.
And
But I'm
crash it.
still mad, and there's still a ton promised that isn't in the game yet. So Sean went away once more. A few more months went by. Knock, knock. Oh, it's you, Sean. What is it now? I bring you an overhaul to the storyline. New worlds, crashed freighters, space combat, terrain editing, portals, procedural mission system, interstellar trading, and joint exploration. By now, people were really starting to warm to No Man's Sky again, and to Hello Games.
The game has in many ways exceeded what was promised.
It's a substantially better game now.
No Man's Sky is back, baby!
People saw this was an honest effort to fix the game, and the number of employees working on it was growing, from a studio of 15 to 25.
Hey.
Sean Murray and Hello Games social media also started becoming more active and engaging with the audience. The subreddit was flourishing once more. The price of the game secondhand on Amazon, eBay, and GameStop was going up.
Whoa.
Then a few more months went by. Next, a really big patch.
Oh my god. Holy
I might play it now. I didn't know it got better. I didn't know it got this good.
To be super clear, No Man's Sky is not fuck that. Here's the full and proper multiplayer experience. Ringed planets, third-person mode, character customization, a galactic atlas and an external website for the community.
Wow,
Vast
that looks so
overhauls
fun,
to base building
honestly.
and crafting and resources.
Wow!
And it also brought the game to Xbox. In fact, with the release of Next in July 2018, No Man's Sky was the 6th top-selling console game for the month. It climbed its way back into Steam's top 10.
Wow.
It reached nearly 100,000 concurrent players. It brought another $24 million across all platforms. Their Steam rating went from mixed to very positive. People were getting back on board in a big way. But
Wow.
2018.
better creatures, weird underwater shit.
It looks
discoveries
so
in
fun.
bases and environments and equipment, and it keeps going. New biomes, more diversity, archaeology, more things to discover. By now, Sean and the
All the
gaming
things that he
inspector,
was-
personification of the gaming community, had literally patched things up and were making out on the couch. Which was when he released his biggest patch to date of this video.
Oh my god, dude!
Free VR support. Not
What?
a whole other game you have to pay for.
Free
like
what?
some
VR
titles.
support. You
Overhauls
should
to
charge for that.
NPCs, tech trees, base building, streamlined multiplayer, ride animals around.
I would
All
love
sorts of
to play
stuff
this
that was
in VR.
never
That
promised
sounds
in
so
the first
fun.
place. And they're still adding more stuff.
Someone at Valve, who was a fan of the game, said to me, what you do now is more important than what you say. There's only one thing that's credible, and that's your actions.
Integrity.
In fact, I was so slow to get this video out that they put out another patch the other day. With ship salvaging, ship upgrading, more advanced terrain editing, first-person
that's
exocross,
cool.
improved
I know. I
VR,
wanna
improved
play
base
this in
building and
VR.
inventory management, and quality of life stuff. It goes on. Is it perfect? Technically, there are still things on this spreadsheet missing. But come on now, we're starting to nitpick. Especially when you compare them to relationships with other games companies. They could have gone the route of Fallout 76, paywall mods with Fallout First, charging a monthly fee, a downward spiral more and more into pay-to-win scraps released without QA testing. But instead, they never added pay-to-win. They never added microtransactions or paid DLC.
Wow.
They never made VR as a second game.
All
they
the
didn't
updates are
give
free.
up on the game or scale their resources back to do it. They didn't come out and call all gamers entitled. They didn't add loot boxes. They didn't start work on the next big project or sequel. They didn't do much of anything except get back to work. And just like that, the game once panned by critics now had awards rolling in.
Your developed star 2019, No Man's Sky, Sean Murray.
No Man's Sky next.
No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky's next.
No Man's Sky.
And to cap it all off,
Accepting other
the
awards. People to
subreddit
accept
Are
the
No Man's
awards.
Sky the game
They always
even got
got
together
awards,
and
though.
pooled money for a GoFundMe to have a billboard installed near the Hello Games office. It must have been a harrowing moment for Sean and the team. They took a huge risk to start a small studio. They clawed their way up to create one of the most notable games of the console generation. Disappointed pretty much everyone with the release.
Yeah.
And took one of the biggest online beatings in video game history for it.
As a family, post-release, we faced some really difficult challenges. Everything that you can imagine from like the worst of the internet, we hit.
But then over the course of the next 3 years, completely turned it around and came out the other side with a win. It's the underdog story. And after doing all of this research, I couldn't help but come to the conclusion that they were the good guys.
Gay!
So what is the future for Hello Games? In 2017, they announced Hello Labs, a support program focused on original titles and games using procedural generation. Two of the team also branched off to work on a small title called The Last Campfire. But
I think it's on
for the
iOS.
foreseeable future, they're just working on No Man's Sky.
Which is good, because if it's on the PS5, I would get it for the PS5.
Wow, yeah.
But you know what this really outlines to me is that this is a story. I mean, because we watched the Fallout 76 video, and this is the difference between like a team that really cares about a game and a team that just wanted to make a game to make money.
Well, the thing is, they wanted to do both.
No, right,
and
but
I think Sony giving them that money gave them that option, and then after they got the money, it was like, oh, now what? A lot of people are like, oh, we're so tired. Do we still want to work on this after everyone's complaining and blah blah blah? Like the incentive to make this awesome game. Now with all that backlash, but now with the money, were they willing to put that again hours of endless nights to who knows what they're gonna say? You know, like. It was a gamble.
And I think, but
I
think if you care about, I think if you care about the product that you're making, it's not a gamble. It's just, we have to get to work because it's not.
He placed his value in something that people couldn't see the value yet. Like, and he was like, it's there. We just have to like he really believed.
Yeah,
that
but he had to get his team to get it there.
Yeah,
and
he had
the
to
point.
And he always, I think, had the engineering side convinced because he's a technical director. Like he can speak in their terms, but to do it to the people who are playing it and stuff, it's like really.
Yeah, the Sony deal really put them in a really tight deadline that they couldn't budge, and.
Release crap and then.
But that's the thing. It's like
I think the crap.
No matter the size of the studio, because Bethesda is a lot bigger than Hello Games. It's the developers that care about the games that make a difference, not that care about if the game is making money.
Successful,
right?
Yeah, it's like they lose that side of the success and the value of it.
Because honestly, the game looks really fun, and it's like now that I know the developers are still working on it and they care about the user experience enough, where they could really get the worst of the emotional internet criticism that came together and just like dogpiled on them. It's like, oh, okay. It's like I feel like they're making a game that I would want to play.
I'm surprised he took he made it so that nobody else can hear all the negative, right? He took it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, what? But not
only
did he didn't do anything like in an emotional response towards it.
Yeah.
He just he put it on data and was like, okay, now how are we going to use this because they're spoken by real people, and if it's just an opinion, we can change that opinion, and how do we do that? And he like laid it out and made a plan, like organized all that data that people would be like, oh, that's crap. I would have just thrown out because they don't want to see something like that.
That was honestly one of the most impressive parts because he didn't delegate it to someone. He's like, I'm going to do it. And he took in all the criticism so he could, parse it out and make steps for to make really clear steps on how to make the game better step by step for his whole team to just be like, okay, let's work on this. Now we're working on this. And now we're working on this.
Yeah, he made a list and an order of... Which, I mean, developers and programmers, you have to. You can't just haphazardly throw, numbers and letters together and be like, oh, look,
I know, but to organize it through that chaos, very impressive. Yeah. So, there's a saying.
Oh, that's a good story.
No,
I mean, good.
No pressure.
Real.
No pressure, no diamonds, and they're like there's a lot of like games that come out, and it's like they're not really fun anymore, and so. Like indie game studios that can really focus on making fun games, like good for them.
I guess that's why people really like that content, whether it's music or movies.
Yeah,
or
gaming
whatever,
has become a much more approachable media. And so studios are now, it's like now we can clearly see studios that are just in it for like the fiduciary duties of making money on their properties and acquiring more properties to make money.
You could tell when they're following a formula.
Yeah, or the ones that are actually trying to make something fun and new and engaging. It's like, who knew Roblox would be so big? Anyways.
Oh yeah, that's why my kids are...
We got to end this video. It's
long.
Thanks for tuning in. We're going to have a CBD lineup soon. So if you want buds, you'll be able to get them there. But until then, if you don't have buds, wear your buds. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
If you liked this video, don't like, don't comment, don't subscribe, don't retweet, don't follow, don't reblog. Do not smash the like button. In fact, keep your fucking hands away from the like button. Stop. Stop.